Imagine for a moment that you've been dealing with someone who has a narcissistic personality, a person who constantly seeks admiration, validation, and control over others. It may seem like nothing can truly affect them, right? After all, a narcissist's ego is massive, and they often present themselves as invincible. But what if I told you there is something that can destroy a narcissist's ego more effectively than the widely discussed method of going no contact after they've discarded you? Intrigued? Stick around, because by the end of this discussion, you'll discover a strategy that hits narcissists where it truly hurts, far more than any rejection or silence ever could. Have you ever experienced the feeling of being manipulated, controlled, or even dehumanized by someone with narcissistic traits? If so, you are not alone. Narcissists are skilled at drawing people in with their charm and charisma, creating a sense of deep connection. However, once they've gotten what they need, they often discard those who no longer serve as a source of narcissistic supply. This cycle of attraction and abandonment can leave you feeling betrayed and utterly confused. Understanding the dynamics of narcissism is key to knowing how to deal with these individuals. Narcissists thrive on the admiration and attention they receive from others. Their sense of self-worth is built upon the validation they garner, and they often manipulate others to maintain their status. It's a painful process, as those caught in their orbit can feel like mere objects being used to fuel the narcissist's fragile ego. The emotional toll can be overwhelming, and it's crucial to understand what truly threatens their inflated sense of self. So, what actually destroys a narcissist's ego? The answer might not be what you expect. While going no contact with a narcissist can leave them frustrated and desperate for attention, there's something far more potent that shakes them to their core. You see, narcissists are deeply insecure, despite their outward bravado. Their sense of superiority is a mask, hiding a vulnerable self-esteem. When they are faced with indifference, it can be extremely damaging to their fragile ego. No contact is often seen as a powerful tool to distance yourself from the narcissist, making it more difficult for them to manipulate or control you. However, the true threat to a narcissist's ego is not just silence. It is the complete lack of reaction or emotional response. Narcissists feed on emotional reactions, whether it's admiration, anger, or frustration. By refusing to engage with them, you strip them of their ability to provoke the emotional responses they crave. This indifference or emotional detachment can be disorienting for a narcissist. They rely on the emotional energy of others to fuel their sense of self-worth. And when this energy is withdrawn, they begin to unravel. The lack of reaction exposes their insecurity and forces them to confront the reality that their control over you has been broken. This can be incredibly destabilizing for them, making them feel powerless and insignificant. In conclusion, while ignoring a narcissist can leave them frustrated, it is the complete absence of emotional engagement that truly disrupts their ego. When you no longer feed into their need for validation, you take away their power and force them to confront the emptiness beneath their facade. This, more than anything, can destroy their sense of self and leave them reeling in the aftermath. The strategy that I'm talking about is not giving them the reaction they expect. Narcissists are masters of emotional manipulation, and they often crave a certain type of response from their victims. Whether it's anger, desperation, confusion, or even sadness, they want to see you react. It fuels their sense of control and superiority. So, what happens when you stop giving them that? What happens when you completely neutralize their emotional playbook? This is where the true destruction begins. When a narcissist can no longer predict or manipulate your emotions, their sense of control slips through their fingers. They lose the power they've grown so accustomed to having over you. Think of it as a game of chess. If you know all the narcissist's moves and stop falling into their traps, they become disoriented and lose the thrill of the game. You might wonder, what's so damaging about not reacting? Well, the narcissist's ego is built on a delicate foundation of admiration and control. When they see you as a source of narcissistic supply, they feel powerful and invincible. But when you stop playing into their hands, It's like pulling the rug out from under them. The reaction they crave is no longer there. Instead of seeing their usual anger, frustration, or sadness in you, they're met with indifference or calmness. And that, my friends, is what truly breaks them. Now, don't get me wrong, going no contact still works, but it's not always as immediate or as directly impactful as this strategy. When a narcissist doesn't get the emotional validation they're accustomed to, it throws them off balance. They no longer have control over your emotional state, and that in itself is a major blow to their ego. Remember, narcissists believe they are superior to everyone else, so seeing you unaffected by their manipulation is like a punch to their inflated self-image. But here's where things get even more interesting. Narcissists are also incredibly sensitive to any form of rejection, especially when it's done in a way that undermines their self-worth. If you refuse to engage in their games, or give them the emotional reaction they seek, you're rejecting them in a way that's more painful than simply cutting them off. It's like telling them that their ego is so insignificant to you that it doesn't even warrant a response. The deeper you delve into this approach, the more powerful and effective it becomes. Narcissists thrive on chaos and drama, often using emotional manipulation to keep others entangled in their web. If you choose not to engage in their emotional roller coaster, you effectively take away their source of excitement and control. Narcissists feed off conflict, attention, and the validation of their perceived superiority. Without these things, they start to feel insignificant, something they can't tolerate. Their sense of self-worth is intricately tied to their ability to dominate others. And when you stop playing into that dynamic, their ego begins to crumble. Implementing this strategy begins with recognizing the narcissist's manipulative tactics. Understanding how they operate allows you to stop feeding into their games. The key is to withhold the emotional responses they crave. By denying them this validation, you deprive them of the attention they need to feel powerful. Additionally, avoid engaging in further attempts to seek closure or validation from them. The moment you stop giving them this supply, they will begin to question their influence over you. And that uncertainty is something they cannot bear. When you stop reacting, the narcissist's power over you starts to diminish. They will feel small, powerless, and exposed, something that threatens their fragile ego. Narcissists rely on the emotional reactions of others to inflate their sense of superiority. When you stop reacting to their provocations, they lose their grip on you. They may try harder to get a response, but the less you engage, the less power they have to manipulate you. This strategy is not about being cold or indifferent, but rather about protecting your emotional energy. By refusing to participate in their games, you regain control over your own emotions. The narcissist may try to provoke you, but when you don't react, their tactics lose their effectiveness. They will start to realize that their usual strategies no longer work, and that realization can cause them significant discomfort. In dealing with a narcissist, it's essential to remember that you have the power to neutralize their control. The more you resist their attempts at manipulation, the less hold they have over your emotional well-being. By maintaining your boundaries and not allowing them to invade your emotional space, you protect yourself from further harm. Remember, their sense of superiority is fragile, and once they realize they can't manipulate you, their influence will begin to fade. Thank you for joining me in today's discussion. If you found this content helpful, please remember to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit from it. If you're currently dealing with a narcissist, know that you can break free from their emotional manipulation. Stay strong, stay grounded, and always prioritize your emotional well-being. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.